In this video, I want to make some adjustments to the previous episodes I did in my basketball-themed Versus series. A few episodes I did recently, in particular the Reggie Miller vs. Mitch Richmond video and the Ray Allen vs. Tracy McGrady video, seems to have caused some controversy and many heated debates online over the seemingly lopsided wins of Richmond and T-Mac especially. My whole Versus series is based on who is the greater player, and for most basketball fans, greatness is judged by winning. If you aren't winning basketball games, then how can you have a great career? In the case of these contrasting superstars, both Reggie Miller and Ray Allen had longevity in their careers and a lot more playoff success compared to Mitch Richmond and Tracy McGrady respectively. So how could Richmond and T-Mac win so handily in my episodes? The reason is because my criteria for each of the first 25 episodes of the Versus series focus too heavily on raw stat averages. Points per game, rebounds per game, and assists per game account for half the categories in each video. I admit that this ended up biasing the winner in each video towards players who simply had higher averages. Playoff success and longevity only mattered in relation to the awards category, which is only one category in my criteria. If we take a look at the greatness of each player's career, then playoff success should matter and longevity should also matter. Otherwise, an up-and-coming modern player like Luka Doncic, for example, could easily be considered better than a lot of old-school legends, and that's not right either. So in these two example videos I mentioned, it could be argued that although Reggie Miller and Ray Allen had more successful careers and a lot more playoff success, they lacked in individual stats and awards, and Mitch Richmond and Tracy McGrady could be considered overall the more talented player according to their stats and awards, but lacked the playoff success and longevity. So the video should have been a lot closer than the summary made them out to be. So in this video, I want to take some time to go over each of the first 25 episodes in the series to add an additional two categories, playoff success and longevity. For playoff success, I will be of course looking at championships won as a top 3 player, how deep did they take their team into the playoffs as a top 3 player in the team, and for longevity, I'll be looking at their total career points, rebounds, assists, and win shares. Of course, these are just two extra criteria because there's so many factors in determining a great career, but I do want to add these two additional categories to my existing 6 in order to get a clearer sense and a better picture of who the greater player actually was. Scottie Pippen vs. John Havlicek. In the playoff success category, Hondo will take the win here because he has been to exactly 2 more finals, has 2 more championships, and went to 2 more Eastern Conference finals compared to Pippen. In the longevity category, Hondo will also take that because he leads Pippen by a good margin of 7,000 points and 1,000 rebounds, and their win shares are almost dead even. So with the new categories added, John Havlicek keeps a significant advantage over Scottie Pippen and remains the winner in this matchup. Dave Cowens vs. Bill Walton. In the playoffs category, Walton has been to 1 more finals, but Cowens has been to 4 Eastern Conference finals as well. And we have to take into consideration only one of Walton's finals runs was he a top star on the team, so I have to give this one to Cowens. In the longevity category, this one is obviously no comparison as Walton only played 3 healthy seasons and Cowens was a relatively durable player, so this one clearly goes to Cowens. So with the new categories, Dave Cowens takes an even bigger lead over Bill Walton and still keeps the win here. Bob McAdoo vs. Dan Issel. In the playoffs category, McAdoo won 2 rings and went to 4 finals, but all of them as a bench player for the LA Lakers. Meanwhile, Issel went to 3 finals, 2 with the Kentucky Colonels, 1 with the Denver Nuggets as the top 2 player on the team, in addition to reaching the Eastern Conference Finals and 2 Western Conference Finals. So this one will go to Issel. In the longevity category, this one clearly goes to Issel as he was an Iron Man and was one of the most durable players ever. He has a lead of 8,000 points on McAdoo. So while it was a tie before, now Dan Issel has a clear advantage over Bob McAdoo with the new categories added. So the winner is now Dan Issel. Willis Reed vs. Mel Daniels. In the playoffs category, while Reed had a lot of playoff success, Mel Daniels had even more. Daniels has 1 more ring and went to 2 more finals than Reed did, so I'm giving this one to him. In the longevity category, this one's very close and they're remarkably similar in longevity and total stats, so I'll call this one a tie. With the new categories added, it's no longer a tie. Mel Daniels takes a bigger lead over Willis Reed and ends up the winner in this matchup. David Robinson vs. Artis Gilmore. In the playoffs category, while Robinson has more rings, one of them was coming off the bench. Their playoff success is otherwise quite similar, so I have to call this one a tie. In the longevity category, although they have similar win shares, Gilmore has the advantage here, leading Robinson by 4,000 points to 6,000 rebounds, as Gilmore was one of the most durable players of his era, and also played longer than Robinson did. So while David Robinson was a clear winner before, now it's much closer with the new categories added, and becomes a tie. But I will still give Robinson the slight edge here if I had to choose between the two. Connie Hawkins vs. Billy Cunningham. In the playoffs category, both have 1 ring and 1 finals appearance. Cunningham has 1 more Eastern Conference finals, but it's roughly equal, so this one ends up a tie. In the longevity category, both have similar win shares and assists, but Cunningham played longer than Hawkins did, so has the advantage in total points and rebounds, so it'll have to go to him. While it was a tie before, now the advantage goes to Billy Cunningham with the new categories, and so he will be the new winner over Connie Hawkins here. Rick Barry versus Elgin Baylor. In the playoffs category, although Barry has a ring, overall I would say Baylor had more success as he went to a whopping 8 finals in his career compared to just 3 for Barry, so this one will actually go to Baylor. In the longevity category, Barry has more points, win shares, and assists, but Baylor comes close while having more rebounds, so I'd say roughly it's a tie here. While Rick Barry was a clear winner over Elgin Baylor before, now it's a bit closer with the new categories, but Barry still holds an overall advantage, so he will still remain the winner here. Carmelo Anthony versus Alex English. In the playoffs category, neither have a ring and both went to one Western Conference Finals, so that's a tie. In the longevity category, English has lofty totals, but Melo has more longevity and more in every category, so this won't go to him. So while it was a tie before, Carmelo Anthony now takes the advantage here over Alex English with the new categories added, and now will take the win. Roger Brown versus James Worthy. In the playoffs category, both had the same number of championships, but Worthy reached 2 more finals, so this one will go to him. In the longevity category, Worthy has the advantage here as well, as Brown had a very good but short prime. So while the advantage went to Roger Brown before, with the new categories added, it's now much closer between him and James Worthy, and it now becomes a tie. But if I really had to choose, I would still probably give it to Roger Brown by a hair. Jerry Lucas versus Dave DeBusschere. In the playoffs category, DeBusschere clearly had more success than Jerry Lucas with 1 more championship, 1 more finals, and 2 more Eastern Conference Finals, so he easily takes the win here. In the longevity category, Lucas has the advantage in rebounds, assists, and win shares, so this category will go to him. So Jerry Lucas keeps his win over Dave DeBusschere here, as the new categories were evenly split between them. Amar'e Stoudemire versus Chris Bosh. In the playoffs category, Bosh clearly had more success in the playoffs than Stoudemire did, as he has 2 championships and went to 4 finals. In the longevity category, Bosh has a slight edge in each category, so this category will also go to Bosh. So while it was a tie before, now with the new categories added, Chris Bosh will now take the clear win over Amar'e Stoudemire here. David Thompson versus Pete Maravich. In the playoffs category, Thompson clearly had more success than Pistol Pete did, as he actually went to a finals and Western Conference Finals in his prime, whereas Pistol Pete never made it past the first round until his last season when he was a bench player with the Celtics. In the longevity category, while neither player played a long time, and although Thompson has an advantage in win shares, Pistol Pete has a slight advantage in the major stat categories, so this will go to him. So overall, it still remains a tie between the two, but I will still give the edge to Pistol Pete if I had to pick between the two. Joe Dumars versus Sidney Moncrief. In the playoffs category, Dumars clearly had more playoff success, winning 2 rings and making 3 finals appearances. In the longevity category, while Moncrief has more rebounds, Dumars has an advantage in points and assists and plays slightly longer, so this category will also go to him. While Sidney Moncrief had the win before, now the tables turned with the new categories added, and Joe Dumars now takes the win. Gail Goodrick versus Earl Monroe. In the playoffs category, both players had almost the same playoff success, although Goodrick reached 1 more finals, he wasn't playing a lot of minutes in the 1968 finals run, so overall I have to say it's a tie. In the longevity category, both players have the exact same amount of win shares, which is kinda crazy, but Goodrick has a very slight margin on points and assists, so this category will go to him. So while Earl Monroe took the win over Gail Goodrick before, with the new categories added, it's much closer and ends up being a tie. If I had to choose, I'd probably still go with Monroe by a hair. Chris Webber versus Spencer Haywood. In the playoffs category, although Haywood won a ring, it was as a bench player, and so essentially both players have roughly the same amount of playoff success. In the longevity category, it's pretty close here as well, as both players had roughly the similar total stats and win shares, so here will also be a tie too. So there's no change here, as the new categories all ended up as a tie, so Chris Webber will still keep the win over Spencer Haywood here. Wes Unseld versus Nate Thurmond. In the playoffs category, Unseld has the definite advantage, as he has a championship and went to twice the number of finals Thurmond did. In the longevity category, Thurmond has the advantage in total points, but Unseld leads significantly in win shares, so I'll have to call this one a tie. So with the new categories added, Wes Unseld keeps his win over Nate Thurmond. Reggie Miller versus Mitch Richmond. In the playoffs category, Miller has a clear advantage, as he went to 5 Eastern Conference Finals and 1 finals, while Richmond never got past the first round in his prime. Although Richmond has a ring, he was a bench player with the deep Lakers squad, so it doesn't really count. In the longevity category, Miller has a massive advantage here too, with a huge lead in points and win shares, so this category definitely goes to him. So with the new categories added, it becomes much closer, resulting in a tie. If I had to choose though, I might still go with Mitch Richmond by a hair. I still think Richmond was a more talented player, but he didn't have the team that Reggie Miller did. If Richmond had Miller's team, I'm sure he would have been just as successful. Marcus Johnson versus Bob Dandridge. In the playoffs category, Dandridge has a clear advantage with 4 finals appearances and 2 championships, so this will go to him. In the longevity category, Dandridge has a slight advantage in all stat categories, so this will go to him as well. So while it was a tie before, now the advantage shifts to Bob Dandridge with the new categories added, and he now takes the win over Marcus Johnson. Kevin Johnson versus Tim Hardaway. In the playoffs category, KJ has a clear advantage in playoff success, reaching an NBA Finals, so this will go to him. In the longevity category, Tim has a slight advantage in points, but KJ has an advantage in win shares, and both have roughly the same number of assists, so I have to call this one a tie. So with the new categories added, Kevin Johnson adds to his lead over Tim Hardaway and remains the winner in this matchup. Dominique Wilkins versus Adrian Dantley. In the playoffs category, Dantley has the clear advantage, as Dominique has never gotten past the second round, while Dantley has been to a finals. In the longevity category, Nick has the advantage in points and rebounds, while Dantley has a slight edge in win shares. However, I'll still give this category in favor of Dominique. So with the new categories being evenly split, Dominique Wilkins still keeps his win here over Adrian Dantley. Dave Bing versus Lenny Wilkins. In the playoffs category, Wilkins has the clear advantage, as Dave Bing has never gotten past the first round, while Wilkins had solid playoff success with the St. Louis Hawks. In the longevity category, Wilkins has the advantage in every category, so this one will definitely go to him. So with the new categories added, Lenny Wilkins increases his lead over Dave Bing and remains the winner here. Bob Lanier versus Walt Bellamy. In the playoffs category, it's pretty much a wash here, as both went to exactly one conference finals, and that's it. In the longevity category, Bellamy has an advantage in every stat category, so this one will go to him. So with the new categories added, it's not enough for Walt Bellamy, and Bob Lanier will keep his win here. Kevin McHale versus George McGinnis. In the playoffs category, both players had tremendous playoff success. Although McHale went to one more finals and had one more championship in 1981, he wasn't close to being a top 3 player in that team, so it ends up being fairly equal between these two. In the longevity category, McGinnis has more rebounds and assists than McHale, but McHale has a substantial advantage in win shares, so overall I have to call this one a tie. So with the new categories being a tie, George McGinnis will keep his win over Kevin McHale here. Ray Allen versus Tracy McGrady. In the playoffs category, Ray Allen clearly had more playoff success than T-Mac did, with 2 rings and reaching 4 finals, so this will easily go to him. In the longevity category, Allen also has a clear advantage in every stat category in longevity, so this won't go to him as well. So with the new categories added, both easily go to Ray Allen, but Tracy McGrady will still keep his win narrowly. Tom Heinsohn versus Bailey Howell. In the playoffs category, Heinsohn clearly wins, with a 6-ring and 7 finals advantage over Howell. In the longevity category, Howell has a clear lead in every category, so this will definitely go to him. So with the new categories being evenly split between Tom Heinsohn and Bailey Howell, it still remains a tie between them, but if I had to pick, I'll still go with Tom Heinsohn by a small margin. So that's it guys, just wanted to revise my previous videos by adding some new categories, making a total of 8 categories, which I feel is better for judging the overall greatness of a player's career. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay tuned for the next comparison video in this series.